After my deadbeat brother abandoned his kids with our parents, they expect me to step in financially, despite ignoring me for years when I needed help. I, 31, male, have had no contact with my parents for almost 6 years after I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and I asked them to help me out with the cost of my medication since my insurance wouldn't, but they refused. I was between jobs at the time, so I was short on money, and everybody knows how expensive medicines are, but, as usual, my parents let me down. We got into a pretty bad fight when they refused, and I told them that it was a bit stupid of me to expect anything from them in the first place, since they had never bothered to care about me at all. And they never tried to apologize to me after that. So we just stopped speaking to each other. Even when we would see each other at family get-togethers, we wouldn't speak. They were on good terms with my brother, in spite of him being a total screw-up though, which isn't surprising since he always was their favorite. My older brother, Carson, 39 male, is a high-functioning alcoholic and has, unfortunately, been that way for the past 8 years. He has gone sober several times but has never been able to make it stick. I honestly feel bad for him because a couple of months back he lost his wife in an accident and was left with 2 kids, both boys under 10, to take care of. I knew his wife. She was a wonderful, sweet person, and I think she was the only thing keeping him from becoming a full-fledged raging alcoholic who couldn't be bothered to do anything else but drink himself to. Unconsciousness every day. The grieving just made it worse, and he was fired from his job shortly after his wife passed away because he hadn't even bothered to show up or explain his absence. Every single day, he would drop his kids off at his in-laws' house or our parents' house, and then spend the rest of the day drinking at home. He would only sober up enough to drive to pick his children up, bring them back home, and then put them to bed. The next day, he would repeat the same thing. About a week ago, he had dropped his kids off at our parents' place and said that he would be back to pick them up at the end of the day, as usual. But a couple of hours after that, he just sent them an email saying that he wouldn't be returning because he knew that he was not a good father to his children and didn't want them to grow up with him. So, he was leaving them with my parents because he knew that they could care for them better and wished them luck. He had also blocked our parents and his in-laws after that, so they couldn't reach out to him either, and nobody had any idea where he was. After a couple of days of trying to find out where he was, they gave up, and my parents decided to contact me and tell me all about this so they could ask me to help them out financially. Both my parents are retired now, and they do have retirement funds set aside for them, but if they start taking care of the kids, they are going to need more money, and they are not sure if they will be able to support themselves and the kids with just the money that they have. Carson's in-laws have already surrendered and have said that they will not be able to take on this responsibility, so I'm the only person that they can count on because I'm family, and they were relying on me now. I haven't really had any contact with Carson over the past couple of years. We were not on bad terms, but we were never really close. I guess it might be because of the age gap, but we were just never very brotherly to each other. So I liked my nephews, but I thought it was unfair of them to ask me for help, especially when I knew that they had the resources and the means to raise the kids on their own. My parents had been pretty well off when they were working, so I found it hard to believe that they wouldn't be able to raise 2 kids on their own without my financial help. I told them that as much as I wanted the kids to have a bright future, I could not keep my own aside and prioritize them, so I wouldn't be helping them out with the money. Instead of respecting that, my parents started arguing with me and said that as a member of the family, I should realize that we are in this together and that I need to help them. I found that pretty laughable because I still remember what they had said to me when I had asked them to help with my medical expenses 6 years ago. And I repeated the same words to them. Don't rely on us just because we're your family. You need to figure some things out on your own. That's what they had said to me when I had told them that I needed them to help me out for a couple of months with the cost of medication since it was necessary and expensive. But everything else I would manage on my own. And it wasn't even a lot of money. I was eventually able to do it on my own after cutting a lot of corners, which I wouldn't have had to do if they had just helped me out. But what they were asking for here was a lot of money every year, and I had a future to think about as well. As a matter of fact, I do plan on having kids of my own in a year or two since my wife, 30, female, and I have also been married for 2 years now, so it's not practical for me to commit to contributing to helping them out. And I made that very clear to them. Besides, we have not been in touch for the past 6 years. What were they even expecting anyway? They got really pissed off when I repeated their own words back to them. They said that I was being a jerk and that they couldn't believe that I was just turning my back on them like this, just because of something that had happened 6 years ago. Then they started emotionally manipulating me and asked me if I was in their place, would I have said the same thing? So I told them that if I were in their place, I would have called CPS and let them handle it because this was getting too much for me. Then I hung up. But my parents told everybody about the CPS comment that I had made and how I had refused to help them. And now the rest of the family is texting me to let me know that I'm being really heartless right now. I don't understand what to do. AITA for telling my parents that I will not be helping them out with money to raise my deadbeat alcoholic brother's kids? Edit. So I guess I wasn't exactly clear with how my relationship with my brother and his family was. First things first, I actually knew his wife from before they got married because we went to the same college together, and it was a happy little coincidence. Secondly, I had never tried to go no contact with my brother, but I guess it just happened because after I cut my parents out of my life, even he stopped speaking to me. He congratulated me on my wedding a couple of years back, but that was it. So I guess he had also started distancing himself from me after my fallout with my parents, and I guess I resented him a bit for that. And yes, even though I had remained in no contact with my parents, I had never blocked them. I don't really have a reason for it. I guess I just forgot or never really found it necessary because the last time that we fought, 6 years back, I had believed that they would eventually reach out to me to apologize, or at least try to talk to me. And that's why I had kept that door open. But when they didn't, I decided to just forget about it, so I never blocked them, and most importantly, I did not tell my parents to report this situation to CPS because I don't care for the well-being of my nephews, but because I don't think that having an alcoholic as a father was helping them in any way. If my parents were really finding it difficult to deal with them, then what other option did they have anyway? I didn't mean to make it sound like I was being heartless, so that might have been misconstrued and taken out of context, but I just wanted to put an end to that conversation. However, ultimately, it is their choice what they want to do. That's that out of the way, so I hope this gives you guys some more context about my relationship with my family. Update 1. Hello everybody. Thanks to everyone who commented on the original post. I feel much better and more confident about my decision after going through the comment section. I finally blocked my parents after 6 years since I realized that there was nothing good that was going to come out of this. I also blocked all my relatives who had texted me to let me know that I was wrong for what I was doing and that I was emotionless and heartless. These are the same people who saw me being treated badly all my life and never stepped up for me. But now just because I refuse to help my parents out when they need it, I'm the bad guy? Yeah, right. My parents have always been closed off and aloof with me, and even when I was younger I could see how differently I was treated from my brother. They did not even bother to put up an act when we were around the rest of our family, so it was not a big secret that my parents had a favorite, and it was not me, and nobody ever stood up for me. So I don't really think I need to tolerate any of this. This is why my wife and I decided that we were obviously going to stay no contact with my parents, but we were also going to cut my side of the family off entirely. We don't need that sort of negativity in our life, to be honest. My wife's family is pretty much my family at this point, so it's not like I'll be missing out on anything either. We anyway celebrate all the major events with her family, so I don't think this will make much of a difference to either of us. I actually feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders because, even in the past, my family would occasionally hint to me that my parents were getting old and they were lonely. So I should probably fix things with them before it's too late. And I could never explain to them that it was not me who needed to fix anything. It was they who needed to come to me, and until they did that, I was not going to put aside my self-respect and go to them. But now I don't have to explain that to anybody because nobody's going to be bothering me about my parents anymore. Update 2. Hello. 2 weeks have passed since my last update, and my parents paid me a visit today. I had blocked them, so they couldn't reach me otherwise, and so they had to come and see me in person. Or at least that's what they said to me when they saw me outside in the front yard. It was my bad luck that I was out there in the first place since I thought that today would be a good day to prune some of the hedges. So I was outside in the morning, and then my parents pulled up in a cab. When they got out, I tried to rush inside the house, but they had already spotted me and told me that I needed to wait. For some reason, I decided to wait so they could come and we could speak, probably because I didn't want to look like a cowardly fool rushing inside the house to avoid interacting with them. Once they were there, I told them that I had not changed my mind, and that if that's what they were here to talk to me about, they could just leave, because it would be a waste of my time as well as theirs. But they told me that they were not here to discuss the kids and the financial help that they needed from me. They were apparently here to talk to me about our relationship as parent and child. I found that very confusing because 6 years had passed, and we had not spoken to each other properly. So I didn't think it was necessary for us to discuss things now. But I still let them speak because I wanted to see where they were going with this. To my surprise, they actually acknowledged the fact that they had never treated me fairly and had been very cruel to me by not even trying to be there for me when I was struggling with money. They said that they were really apologetic for the way that they had treated me, but it was just that they had never expected to have a second child and told me that I was more or less of an accident, so to speak. They went on to explain that because of me and my mother's sudden, unexpected second pregnancy, they had to put their plans on hold indefinitely, and eventually ended up not being able to accomplish anything that they had set out to do in the first place. Apparently, their plan in the long run had been to settle into a more traditional lifestyle where my father would be working, my mother would become a stay-at-home mom, and my dad planned on quitting his job and starting his own business. My mother wanted to stay at home and take care of my brother, but when my mom got pregnant for a second time, they did the math and realized that it would be impossible to sustain this kind of lifestyle on just one income. If my dad tried to quit his job at that time, it would be even more troublesome for our family. New businesses take time to break even, and he couldn't take that sort of financial risk. And even though they were not happy about it, they still decided to have me and put their plans on hold. But with time, they just started finding more and more excuses not to do what they had initially set out to, and they didn't even realize it. But at some point, they had started subconsciously resenting me for it. And that's why they had always acted like that with me. But now, they were here to finally give me an explanation as to why they had never been there for me as a kid, and why I was treated differently, and to ask for forgiveness for that as well. It was a lot of information to take in, so I literally had to sit down on the porch steps because I was finding it hard to process all of it at once. Considering the way I was treated my entire life, it did not come as a surprise to me that I was unwanted and unplanned. Also, the age gap between me and my brother kind of gave it away. But the fact that they had actually resented me for something that was not even my fault was what really broke me, because suspecting something was off in my relationship with my parents was one thing, but hearing it straight from their mouths, I was not prepared for that in the slightest. So, after a few minutes of silence, I told them that I wanted them to leave, and that I would let them know what my response to all of this was later because, at the moment, I was still struggling to process all of this. They were respectful enough to leave after that, after telling me that they were really sorry for the way that they had treated me once more. Then, after they were gone, I went back inside the house and told my wife everything that my parents had said to me, and then, I don't know why. I just broke down into tears after that, and she had to comfort me because I was extremely emotional. I cried myself out for a couple of minutes, and once I had recovered, I started thinking about what I would say to them. I know that I'm not obliged to actually respond to them, and I don't have to talk to them if I don't want to. But I feel like this is something that I really want to address. Frankly speaking, I haven't even thought about whether I want to establish a relationship with them after this or not. Everything is a mess in my head right now, and it's going to take me some time to really come to a decision about what I want to do. Update 3. Today, I finally sent this email to my parents. I'm just going to paste it here because I really don't have the energy to elaborate. This is what I sent. Before I get into what I have to say, I would like to thank both of you for coming to me and at least trying to clear the air. I really appreciate the fact that, even if it was a little too late, you guys still tried to make things right. But in spite of that, like I said, it was a little too late. I can only imagine how it must have felt to give up on your dreams because of an unexpected pregnancy. I know that it could not have felt good. I can understand that you guys were upset about it, but honestly, that's not a good enough reason to have treated me the way that you guys did. I always felt like a second-class citizen, even in my own home. I cannot explain to you how horrible it was to know that no matter what I did, my brother would always be treated far differently and better than I would ever be. I started realizing that nothing I ever did would matter in the end, because my own parents were never going to be impressed with me or even care about what I was up to. I don't think you guys understand how horrible that felt, and I really can't even explain it because unless somebody was in my position, they wouldn't have any idea. To think that it took you guys so long to realize that you guys had made a mistake by treating me like that is very sad. I still feel like I'm not important enough for you guys because that's what I've had drilled into my head for years and years, and I cannot undo all that damage with just one apology. I need my space, and I need time to process this, and I can't even tell you that I might be ready to reconcile with you people after a while. The truth is, I just don't know. I don't understand why it has taken so much for you two to realize something simple and basic. You can't treat kids badly their entire life and expect them to still be there for you when you're older and need them. So, I'm really sorry to say this. I really do value the apology and explanation for your behavior, but I think I'm going to stick to my decision to remain no contact with you guys. Maybe I will feel differently someday, and then I might come to you guys myself to reconcile and make things right between us. But for now, this is the conclusion that I have come to, and I really hope that you guys will respect this and not reach out to me again until I'm ready. Thank you so much. Update 4. So, it is almost midnight right now, and 6 days have passed since my last update when I sent that email to my parents. After that, they did not reach out to me, and I thought that they were going to respect my decision to not be in contact with them until I was ready to speak to them and fix our relationship. This evening, however, my wife and I decided that it was an unrealistic expectation for us to have, thinking that they would actually respect anything that I had said. Both of us had just come back home from work and were freshening up when the doorbell started ringing incessantly. When I went to check who it was, I realized that my parents were standing outside, and both of them looked very annoyed. So, I opened the door, and I told them that I was not ready to talk to them yet, and I think I made it sufficiently clear in the email itself. But my dad said that they had read the email several times over the course of the past couple of days, and they thought that I was overreacting and that it was really not that big of a deal, and that by now, I should have come to terms with this. They said that they had apologized to me in the hopes that maybe I would soften up towards them and try to understand their struggles as well, but instead, I only seemed to care about myself and how I had felt. My mother accused me of not even caring about all the sacrifices that they had made since my dad had spent his entire life working for somebody else, when all he had really wanted to do when he was younger was build something of his own. But he had let that opportunity go and let the time pass him by because of me. And even she had made a lot of sacrifices for me and my brother, and while at least Carson had an excuse. He had just lost his wife, which is why he couldn't be there for his family. I didn't even have that sort of excuse. They claimed that I was being self-centered by not taking into account all that they had given up for me, and I was still acting like I was the only victim in the situation, without thinking about what they were going through. Then my dad said that the email had been ridiculous, and they had thought about it for a while, but that they couldn't respect this idiotic decision of mine any longer. They were here to sort things out with me once and for all. It was a really weird approach to take, to be honest, since if they really wanted to sort things out with me, as they claimed, they should have taken a different tone with me. But they were getting really aggressive, and I didn't like that. Also, I had just come back home from work, so I was very exhausted and cranky, so I kind of burst out at them. I told them that they were the ones who were being idiots, because if they really thought that one half-hearted apology was going to make up for everything that they had put me through my entire life, they were wrong. I told them that I owe them absolutely nothing since they had never treated me with any sort of respect. I also reminded them that I had been very polite to them in my email, and even said that if they respected my decision to not talk to them just yet, then I might have found it a bit easier to reconcile with them in the future after I had processed this on my own time, and they don't get to dictate whether the way I'm reacting to something is an overreaction or not. So if I think I don't want to speak to them at the moment, I'm not going to do that, and they can't force me to. My dad tried to interrupt me, but I just screamed at him and shut him down, telling them both that I would call the cops if they didn't clear out. After cursing at me for a bit, they finally left, and I went back inside to tell my wife about the conversation that we had just had. I was fuming and ranting to her, and after I was done, she told me that she should have seen this coming. She explained to me that when my parents had come here to apologize to me in the first place, she had kind of sensed that they might be doing this because they had realized that now, since Carson was gone, they only had me to rely on in their old age, and they were only trying to emotionally manipulate me to forgive them so they could mooch off of me since they were both retired now. And when I decided not to forgive them so easily, they got mad, and that's why they were here to pick a fight with me and maybe somehow get me to forgive them by bringing up how much they had sacrificed for me. And I agree. I had kind of thought along the same lines, but I didn't want to outright accuse them of anything because I still wanted to give them a chance in case that apology was genuine. However, after this recent fight, I know that it most certainly was not, and the only reason that my parents were trying to make amends with me was because they knew that they couldn't count on Carson anymore and needed me to be on their side. My wife and I agreed that we really dodged a bullet by deciding not to forgive them and have no contact with them, even after their apology. We were able to see right through them, and they didn't like that, which is what led to the confrontation today. I'm just glad that they showed us their true colors, and we were not fooled. Update 5. Hello everyone. I haven't checked Reddit in a long time, but I logged in a couple of days ago and realized that I had received a lot of comments on my old posts and updates. It has been almost 6 months since I last posted an update, and I guess this one was long overdue. So, of course, most people want to know how things worked out with my parents. And we are happy to tell you guys that we are still in no contact with them, and we are probably going to be that way for a long time in the future because, after that last fight that we had, my parents had their lawyer call me up and tell me that they were going to cut me out of their will and leave everything to Carson and his kids. And I told the lawyer that if they wanted to hurt me, then they would have to try much harder. Since then, we have had no interaction because I guess they forgot that I really didn't care anymore, and I'm really glad that we don't talk. because from what I know, they are only getting more insufferable with every day that passes, since they're still talking crap about me on their social media, and my relatives just laugh along. Which is fine because I know that I'm doing better than them in life, so it doesn't really matter to me. As for Carson, I heard from a cousin of mine that he made a reappearance and took his kids with him so he could relocate to his new job in LA. He was completely MIA for 2 months, and then out of the blue, he showed up at our parents' place and apologized to them for putting them through so much, and then took his kids with him. I'm glad things are looking up for him now. I hope he's able to take care of his family, and I genuinely wish him nothing but the best. He has had enough trouble in the past already, and even though we're not exactly on speaking terms, I don't think of him as a bad guy either. Now, coming to my wife and I. Remember how we had said that we planned on starting our own family? So we finally did that, and in just 6 short months, we are going to have a baby, and we have never been happier. We made the announcement a couple of weeks ago, and Carson congratulated us and wished us luck for the future. And my parents decided to put up a cryptic post about how grandparents never get their dues on the same day to seek attention, which is expected. Either way, my wife and I are thrilled, and we are looking forward to this new chapter.